So hey guys, I was thinking about this ruling change once again. So rules when a monster that met the conditions of a trigger effect has its control change before the effect is activated. So what does this mean? If a monster that met the conditions of a trigger effect has control change before the effect is activated, the controller at the time of the effect activation will, and it says here, can activate it as its effect, meaning like if trigger is activated, of course, like let's go with, for example, I don't know what would count here. Well, I'm thinking maybe Moyi. So Moyi's like a trigger on summon. So if Moyi changes control, like I econ Moyi, does that mean after I steal Moyi I will get a token? Well, this example makes enough sense, but okay. What if we change it to something else, like Rhino Heart? What happens with Rhino Heart? Assuming I'm not playing any T elements and I steal my opponent's Rhino Heart, does that effectively negate Rhino Heart? And then if I were, in theory, to have a T element, would I instead be the one sending from my deck to the graveyard a T element monster? And I guess it would put back Rhino into my opponent's deck, which isn't that much of an issue, if so, right? Is that what would happen? Like, for example, we could even change it to Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon has a on summon trigger effect to add a one of the Rocket Field spells, you know? So you can attempt that, right? And then if I steal it, does that mean my opponent simply does not get the field spell because it will attempt for me to trigger it as the guy who stole it? So does this actually just overall buff like cards with steal effects? So in short, Mikanko buff ? Because technically before, if you think about it, I believe Rondo doesn't actually negate. What it does is it prevents you from activating the effects of the monster, I believe. So you cannot actually activate its effect once you steal it. And it does not negate its effect, like, for example, DD Headhunt. So in this case, if I were to just use the Mikanko equip spell with, like, Ohime, and to steal your opponent, like, in this case, let's say Rhino Heart, would that not effectively also negate that effect to do more or less a Foolish Burial? So this actually, this one specifically does a little bit more than expected. And also this rules of the effect that are applied activate each time a condition is met. This indeed says Shangri-Ira here, and this actually does matter because if you do Small World, it does activate Shangri-Ira twice. Like, I guess. I still thought it would be counted as one, personally, but after I've seen it happen, if you Small World and Kashira Shangri-Ira is controlled by your opponent, you are losing 2 zones. And that's it. Yeah, you lose 2 zones. Rules for when a monster would be destroyed in battle. This... I have never seen this come up, but is this expected to come up in the future? No idea. And then here... I have no idea what this is even talking about. When flip summoning a monster or resummoning a Gemini monster, if the summon would be negated, that monster will be treated as if it is on the field during the activation of the effect and negate the summon until activation of the effect succeeds. Oh, I see. I get it. There is only one situation where this actually comes up. I believe this is specifically a Gamma thing, maybe. Actually, this is flip summon. It's not. Weird. Because there was a weird situation that would come about. There was an Evasaur that actually has like a Solemn Judgment type effect, and there are other monsters like that, I believe. I don't think there are that many, but technically if you were to use that effect, it can stop you from summoning a guy, but technically that monster is not yet on the field, so I guess that ruling doesn't change, and you can still Gamma despite having a monster kind of on your field. So that seems to still be possible. For flip summoning, That monster will be treated as if it is on the field during the activation of the effect to negate the summon until the activation of the effect succeeds. So this would only matter, I think, if there was like something you could activate, kind of like. So this actually changes it, I think. Does it? Flip summoning a monster, resummoning a Gemini monster. I'm not sure what this changes exactly. I would need someone to give me an example for this one. I don't see the change on this one, but the most impactful two changes, I guess, are still these two. So this here, and then this here. So yeah, that's kind of odd. But control change doesn't happen that often right now, so I can't even think of any good examples for this. And typically, with these control change effects, it actually, well, like with DD, Headhunt already negates anyway, so this doesn't affect Headhunt. Let me check what Crackdown says real fast, though. This might make Crackdown better. Crackdown's effect: activate by targeting one face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of that monster while you control that monster. It cannot attack or activate effects when that monster leaves the field. Destroy this card. Yeah, so this is a buff to directly Crackdown, because before, when you use Crackdown effect, this would not negate the effect at all, but now you kind of can. If it's a trigger effect, you get the effect instead. Let's just say, for example, we have normal summon Aperia, and then you target the Aperia. Now you will draw after Crackdown resolves, which is a bit funky. But this overall does buff those types of effects, so I am considering now getting like copies of Crackdown maybe, and then maybe Econ, just trying out Econ a little bit. Pretty interesting. I mean, Econ is not as bad as it would seem either, so let me read enemy controller for you guys. So enemy controller: activate one of these effects, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change that target's spell position, or tribute one monster, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of that target until the end phase. So this is interesting because this allows you to dodge some things, and this actually does have the potential to out floodgates like skill drain. Like, just potential, right? So, for example, this isn't like the best situation to be in, but let's say we go Baron, chain 1, target skill drain, chain 2, Econ, and then we tribute our Baron to take our opponent's monster, and it is not negated. But yeah, we can also potentially use Econ as like a kind of negate in the same way. So we can take our opponent's monster, and that will effectively not only take that body from them, so it's not in the graveyard, and they won't have access to mess around with it in the graveyard. They won't have a body to link off, like for example with I guess Cyberse, right? Or any like link deck in general. You take away the normal summon and they typically won't be able to do that much. So that's great, and they don't have the card in the graveyard to activate their effects that may or may not need that monster to be in the graveyard. So yeah, pretty intriguing actually now that I think about it. But yeah, that's about all I've got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.